Northwest guy because you're raised in a batting cage, you're raised in an indoor facility, you're taking ground balls off of, you know how to work in limited space.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, and I know I'm biased because I'm a Northwest guy, but I will take a Northwest guy over somebody from another area any day of the week. I just think they're tougher. I just think they're tougher guys.
I think that's one of the best things about baseball is it still is a way that you can really develop toughness and develop, loyalty and all those kinds of things that we want out of young men in particular.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banter podcast, where we highlight all of the great coaches of the Pacific Northwest. Now, here are your hosts, Eric Sorensen, Jason Jarrett, and Kelly Gow.
Hey, fellas. Welcome back to season 6 of the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banter podcast. I'm Eric Sorensen. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube with the Fungo Banter. We're here with Jason and Kelly. Guys, welcome back to the podcast.
Really doing it. Absolutely. Yeah, man. Just finished out some baseball here on a couple days ago. We're kind of the off season, so but like we were talking just right before we got on air, man, we're about 14 weeks away from first high school pitch being thrown, and college is probably about 6 or 8 weeks or so, give or take, 7 weeks. So pretty close. So pretty exciting stuff, guys.
It is happening. I know it's a World Series ended, but really for us, we're starting to really plan. We've been planning to go, but it's just funny when things end, at least the high school season ends in the end of May and everybody gets to do summer ball, how fast it comes around. And I feel like the older I've gotten, the quicker it's come back around too. When I was younger, it took forever. The season's ended. We can't wait to go coach it next year, right? And I unfortunately, I think that's life in general. But yeah, we're the holiday season away from this thing really getting crazy again.
Absolutely.
What's this change for you, Kelly, in your roles? Doing something different? How's it for you?
Roles of
coaching versus what you're doing now. Top tier.
I mean, we've been a full season since then. I think
so you're good now.
I mean, I guess I went full circle with top tier and Pac Northwest. So yeah, it's been a great year. A lot of learning, a lot of new, a lot of growth, a lot of fun things happening. I think the state of baseball in our area is really high right now, and we have the right people involved, across the board, and everyone has a little bit of their own niche and how they do that. But, I think it's different. I mean, yeah, we'll get into some off-season training and maybe some things for players to start focusing on and how recruiting is different and all that. Like, love to touch on a bunch of different stuff today and work with you guys and get some info out there. I was just, it's weird deja vu the last time we were on here with Mariner optimism through the roof, and here we are.
And that just they totally lived up to what they've been doing for so many years to us.
Oh, stop, Jason! Monumental year. Come on.
It was
half full.
Yes, I know.
And before we get to talking, because I want to break all that down, we got so much to talk about the playoffs. The World Series, I'm going to need to be filled in on everything that happened, to be honest with you. But let's talk about our sponsors for this season, because they're the ones that are helping make this thing possible. And a big shout out to everybody we have. Pretty excited. We got a new one this year, and we got all the loyal ones from the last couple of years. Talking about Max BP right away. We're fired up. Those guys are back on with us. We're going to have a few episodes talking about some of their stuff that they have going on. They're the small ball pitching machine to improve your hand-eye coordination and reaction times. And Max BP, they have the original 5 different velocities of fastballs, as well as the right-handed, left-handed curveballs. They also have the pro pitching machine with additional velocities, right-hand, left-hand curveball, sliders, cutters as well. As a rapid fire, setting up for defensive drills. Great for indoor when we have our indoor episode this year, right? it's a good machine, especially when you put the outfield deal on there to shoot fly balls in there. Go check them out, maxpp.com. Check out Safeguard out of the Tri-Cities. Been with us from day one. Big shout out, thank you to those guys and Dave Cruzen as all the gear that we hand out and we're going to have on the website this winter, made by Safeguard. Thank you to Top Tier. Go check them out if you need some summer tournaments. They got a lot of cool things going on. Go follow them on all their socials to keep up to date. Thank you to Devo Bats. They're back again with us. Jordan there in the Tri-Cities. Some good fungos. Go check them out. As everybody knows, everybody has to have their favorite fungo. And now new to the podcast, we're fired up. Greg Swenson, AstroTurf. AstroTurf's Diamond League Series is now the official synthetic turf of Major League Baseball, trusted to perform in the most elite level of the sport and loved by everybody. So big shout out. Thanks to our sponsors. Go check them out. And if you talk to anybody working for those companies, you tell them you heard about it from the Fungo Banner, and they'll hook you up and take care of you. So we last time, like you said, we were before the playoffs started. Mariners, we had all the hope in the world. Playoffs were coming, baby. Been there back in Seattle, and game one, Mariners lose. But it was fun. It was a fun atmosphere. But that Detroit series took a year off our lives a little bit, but it finally came down that we won it. Toronto series, man, that was wild. That was a heartbreaker, that last game. I'm still not over it, to be honest with you. What's your guys' take? What are you guys' thoughts, opinions, and more? And if our listeners, please feel free to chime in on our chat. We love interacting with you, especially come 8:30 when we're talking the everything. And I'm going to post a link here soon to our voicemail page where you can leave us a voicemail. And if our producer gets to it through this episode, we'll play it today. If not, we'll play them at a later episode. But guys, tell me your thoughts.
I'll go first. I mean, honestly, guys, I felt, I mean, I'll tell you what, that Detroit series was pretty phenomenal. You know, I mean, for taking it to game 5 and going those extras and pulling it out. I mean, it just kind of brings back to those, you know, the 95, you know, the Yankees there and Edgar getting the double and scoring the, you know, Griffey scoring the winning run. And, you know, kind of just brings back to those childhood memories of the good times. And, you know, I mean, them getting through Detroit, like you're saying, and getting into the series with Toronto. I mean, it was pretty phenomenal starting out 2-0. And I'm thinking, dude, these guys are legit. Maybe they do have something, you know, and sure enough, they dropped a hard one there. And you know, it kind of was a good series going back and forth. But, you know, I think they're a young team. I really am extremely hopeful if, you know, as a Seattle Mariners fan, you know, I mean, it was a kind of a typical, not typical, but I do apologize, Kelly, for my choice of verbiage here. But yeah, I just felt like I got a little backslapped, you know, I mean, backhand slapped, you know, with the Mariners, you know, kind of thinking that, you know, we had it and we didn't, and it just hurts. And, you know, my son took my iPad after the final out of that game in game 7 and chucked it across the room, and fortunately landed on the couch. And he goes, "I hate being a Mariner fan." I said, "Well, no, listen, it's those times that make you better, and those times when they do get those big ones more memorable." And so I think it was kind of reminding myself as a young lad and watching the Mariners lose so many stinking games, man. Think about the 2001, 2002 years, you know, 116 wins. You think they got the team, and dang, they kind of crapped the bed. But anyways, you know, it honestly was a great series. I really do think Seattle's got a good chance to come back and knock off the Dodgers, because, you know, I think they're going to be kind of the team for the NL next season, guys. I mean, they're loaded. They got the revenue. They'll probably sign some more bigger names, but you know what? I know everybody's knocking on it. They paved their way to another championship, but I don't really care, because it's honestly, they're earning it, right? It's all the revenue they're getting, and I think it's good for baseball. It's just no different what the Yankees did back in, what was it, 90, 98, 99, 2000, somewhere in there. But you know, baseball needs this kind of stuff. You start putting salary caps on teams, and you don't have these dynasties, and I think that's what builds the game so much. You know, I mean, I know it's hard just in general just to try to win multiple championships, and when you have a team like the Dodgers that win back-to-back and you're at such a high level, I mean, it's pretty cool to see. So, but I'm definitely hopeful, Kel. I do want to be positive in this. I am hopeful that we're going to have a great 2026 season. So that's my 2 cents on it, guys.
No, I mean, you could look back on it and be upset at the end and what happened and all that. And Lord knows I sat in the dark for 30, 45 minutes. Cat was probably by somewhere.
He left quick after you started yelling.
Yeah, exactly. We got scared. No, I mean, overcoming the Tiger series, beating Scooball twice. I think it's a massive thing to happen, and it all came wearing him down in a couple big knocks, timely hitting from people you didn't necessarily expect it to be. I mean, being at that game 5 with my pops, and having it run long and late, and like unbelievable to have that atmosphere there, and to see that happen was awesome. I mean, so it's almost like you're playing with house money at that point in time when you get to the ALCS, and obviously you'd like to have more, and you could really criticize some decisions here and there. I mean, hindsight, you're probably going to Munoz earlier or before Bizardo. You might leave Kirby in there an inning longer to kind of stretch the game out a little bit more to allow that decision to happen. And I mean, for as many bad or questionable moves that happen, I mean, you forget all the other moves that were made to allow you to get as far as you did. And it was one swing of the bat against a really good player that, I mean, shoot, he got it out too, having that, I don't know, never knew what the injury was, but some type of oblique or whatever it was at the end. I mean, the guy was practically in tears trying to swing a bat, and yes, we don't like him and what he did and in the past, but you can't knock what he's doing now. But yeah, I mean, we'll get to the World Series in a minute, but I pulled up some numbers here as the most watched MLB playoffs since 2017. The ALCS numbers were through the charts, and your team was a part of that, and so close to being there. And it's maybe a loser's mindset to take moral victories, but I think the pitching staff generally underperformed this year to their expectations, and whether that's injuries or just some sophomore junior slumps from them, so you feel good about that bouncing back and being an even better team next year. And we can only hope that payroll will keep going up. That's what we all pray for, at least to some extent. Because the other side of that too, I mean, the sense of urgency is, I mean, Jason, you talked about salary caps, but I think CBA expires at the end of next year, and you have a lot of really strong personalities in that right now, of players wanting these massive contracts and the deferrals, and other side wanting the salary caps and the salary floors and those type of things. So it'll be really interesting. Really interesting what happens going into that. But there is some sense of urgency to get stuff done while our pitchers are young and affordable, before we start getting priced out of things in the future. But you start thinking about too, this is kind of word vomit here, but you think about the minor league system that you have, and Cade Anderson you draft last year, he should be pretty close to being there within a year or two. We should see Emerson this year at some point in time, or you're trading those pieces to get really, really good players. So they're in a position of strength right now across the board. And the worry end of things though is just how hard it is to get back there, right? To that moment. And no matter how good you play during the regular season and how much you kick butt, 116, Jason mentioned it, but nothing's guaranteed. So that's the tough part, like that you got to that point of it. But we could probably have a whole debate of Mariners Game 7 versus Blue Jays Game 7. What's the worst loss? Like, if you eliminate ALCS and World Series, there's some good debate there. But obviously, would have liked to make it, get that off of our backs. But BC, what do you got?
I got all of that was amazing. Great job, guys. I think you're right. I hate the finality of a season and how it's just over. And we had invested so much time, and this is not it's not about us, but we're the fans of it, right? And it was just like, it was our whole house revolved around that. And I'll ask here in a little bit about what your guys' superstitions were throughout that. But I am glad, and I feel fortunate that it happened, because it had been so long that my kids didn't realize what playoffs were about. And I have a young group of kids, like Ellie, my almost 5-year-old next week is probably more into watching sports than my 8-year-old. And then Griffin's he was just beat. He broke the trident so many times through the playoffs just because he's a baby. But I was excited that I finally got to have those moments with kids, and they were into it. You know, in our household, when they hit a home run, we had bought the trident at the Mariners game, and kids would sprint up there. They were fighting over who could throw it in the air at our house, and it was just so much fun. It's something we worked everything around, and I'm not crying, I promise. I'm just my throat's dry.
It's okay.
I think some of the I know, I'm so emotional. And actually, I was pretty bummed when that game was over, and I had to quit being bummed because my daughter was throwing a fit. She was like throwing things around the house, like, God dang, we hate them. Blah, blah.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
like,
This affects his kids more than we.
yeah, I got to be the adult here, I guess, and got to throw my stuff aside for a second and talk her off the ledge. But I hope that they do something this offseason, because I think that's part of it made it worse for me, is knowing the history of what's gone on and the fact that we've had to wait so long, and then we got a taste of it a few years ago, and then miss it by two years in a row, miss it by a game, and then we finally get there and get to go on this wild run, and then we jump ahead in Game 7, and we have the lead, just cruising, right? Like, and I'm mad at myself because about the fifth inning, it was about the fourth, fifth inning, when we had the lead before they scored, I allowed myself to get excited, and I started thinking about the World Series, right? This is so cool, and then bam, Springer said something else, but. I hope they capitalize on what we got. It would be a shame if this thing didn't keep building, because of, the group of core of this franchise they have been put through all the things. It's kind of like our high school seasons, right? When you have a big group of freshmen, and by that senior year, if you've done your job right, well, we're in that early stage still, I feel like, with this franchise, and we need to fill in those pieces because they're building the core. And it's there, and it's still young, but now it's experience. It's found out how to win in playoff games. It's found out how to be a Cy Young Award winner twice in a 5-game series, or at least be able to outlast them until someone else came in. And there's a lot of really good things that were done this year to grow as a group and a franchise and a team that I hope that they build on. I think a lot of it's re-signing Naylor right away. Go get us another big end arm in the back end of the bullpen. I was against getting some of the other things that were mentioned today, but now I'm kind of getting excited about, like, maybe we can do this. But I hope that they. I would be curious. I'm hoping they made a bunch of money off. I know they made money by being in the playoffs. I'd like to see what those figures are, probably. But I hope they keep building, and it'd be a shame for this city, because look what's happened in the Northwest. You got the Seahawks, that I would say is now in the Super Bowl conversation. You got the Mariners did what they did. The Kraken are sitting in first place.
Yep.
You have UW. Sorry, I don't like them, but like they went out their season, they might be in the playoffs. Like, there's so many good things happening. Keep this ball rolling, because I think everybody found out. They're not just, I would say, even the world found out what Seattle baseball fans are about those last couple weeks of the season, because that was chaos. It was mayhem. And I think when Kelly, whatever game was it, the Game 5 you were at when the roof was closed, and I heard the roof was closed that day, and I thought, hell yeah, let's go. That's going to be so loud in there, and sounds like it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that game was just unbelievable. Like, we fixate on Game 7, but like, if we don't win Game 5, it's there and it's extra innings, and like how many I could go back and look at the numbers. It could have been more prepared, but like, left on base in that game was off the charts. Grounding and double plays, strikeouts, not being situational hitters. So like, crowd up, crowd down, crowd up, crowd down. Like, just immoral, like, just really tough. And then you get the big one with Polanco in the last inning, and after Rivas gets you there, right? The big knock, RBI double down the line, or RBI hit. I don't know if it was double, but to keep it going to get us there. So yeah, so many cool moments there that we hadn't really experienced in our adult lives. That's for sure. It's you talk about Mariners fans or Seattle fans being passionate, like, it's because we haven't had this for 24 years, which is wild to think about what you were doing 24 years ago. It's a long time. I think it was 6th grade for me. So,
Yeah, I was
still
middle school.
it's a quarter of a, well, you hope a quarter of a lifetime, a 30-year lifetime in general is not having that. And now it feels like we got in the holiday season super fast this year because we got this one thing we were excited about for an extra 3 weeks.
It was awesome.
Which is
What was
cool.
your guys' superstitions through this thing watching it?
Well, real quick, I'll throw some numbers at that game 5. So you had a total of 8 hits per team. Detroit had 2 errors. Total length of game time, this is pretty phenomenal, 4 hours and 58 minutes.
With the clock.
with probably everybody in that stadium, 47,025 people standing on their feet from the first pitch. See here, they had see how many guys were left on base running.
I'll put a line out
Left on base. Okay,
13.
it was 10.
Oh,
10 guys left on base for Detroit. And then with Seattle, we had 12. So 22 runners left on base. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I mean, you think about it, that should be a lot higher than a 3-2 for sure with that many guys on base. But I think part of it, superstition wise, is not. It's kind of like you mentioned it, Eric. It's like there was times where like I'm watching Game 7, and I'm like, this is really weird to say the Seattle Mariners are going to the World Series. Like, this is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to like keep that in the back of your head. And I think as a manager too, like just thinking it just as a high school coach, but just a coach of any level, but how often you not want to get yourself ahead. I'm just thinking what Dan Wilson's processing in that moment, right? Like pitch by pitch, he's still, where he's at, he's counting down how many outs they got left. He's trying to figure out, I mean, he's literally by the second inning, he's already think about, okay, where's our next move? I mean, maybe on that first pitch, but I think that's just it's a lot. It's an exhausting moment, to be in, right? As a player and as a coach, but I think more as a coach because it's just so much strategic moves. Because you think about it, you leave a guy in too long, or you pull him too soon. I think that's a lot of that momentum shifts of like, you got to have that feeling with your guys, right? Like, I think that moment you go out and talk to Kirby, is that the right moment? I don't know. I'm not in that situation. I'm not going to say he was either right or wrong. As a fan, you can have your opinions, but I think it really comes down to, and there's probably a lot of coaches are listening tonight that have been in these moments, but how many times you go out and talk to your pitcher and you're thinking, well, he's done right from the first step out of the dugout. But by the time that you get to the mound, you're going, no, okay, all right, we're going to give him, one more batter or try to get this final out. You have a little bit of something with him, you're feeling it, and it's just part of that. I get all the metrics are important, and you're going, well, he doesn't do very good with the right-handed hitters, or with this particular, guy or whatever. This guy hits more on this type of pitch he commonly throws. But the thing is how much of just that moment, who has more fight, who more, in that moment to get it done for your team. And I think that's where you kind of just, it's a hard way to explain it because, and I think Kelly, you've probably been like this more, you get those big collegiate moments in games. You're just like, okay, if we make this move, it could change the whole momentum of this game and our season can be done, especially I think these guys that get into, the College World Series, I mean, I could see where guys like Pat Casey didn't eat, and it was like, he was pretty much a guy that was just thinking, because it's just one wrong move and you got to live with it for, 3 months or whatever it is, or 5 months until the next pitch, So, I think that's kind of my feel on it, is just try not to think, but for me, just not getting, the cart before the horse.
I thoroughly enjoyed watching that. There was a lot of, I mean, obviously really good managers, but like, watching AJ Hinch navigate that series, watching Schneider and Wilson, and I made the comment to probably both of you guys that I was more nervous watching that series than I was ever coaching in like the big games. Probably because we have a little bit more control. We don't, but we do.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I'm also probably more conscious of my mental state when I'm coaching, and there's no adult beverages flowing either, probably. But yeah, because that's that 100%, Jason. Because watching that, I let my emotions get to me a little bit and lose the control. But that's the part of being a fan, right? It's fandom. But yeah, that composure of living pitch by pitch and not making the situation bigger than it is, and not letting the game speed up on you, because I think that happened a few times to some of the guys. But yeah, that's fun. I will say, like, I've tried to become better throughout being a high school coach and coaching in general, of not having superstitions or I have routines. They're not superstitions because I don't have to have them. But I found myself this series like, I wore my teal Griffey jersey through the entire win streak, right, of September. And then I wore it to the first playoff game, and we lost. I got to get a new one. But it turns out if I just washed everything, and so every time they lost, I'd throw everything in the washing machine and pull it back out and put it back on the next day, and they lost again. I was like, okay, back in the washing machine it goes. Maybe I need to get the white Griffey jersey out. And I threw my white Griffey had a stain on it. And when I washed it and put some new stuff, some stain remover on it, and it came out brand new, clean. I'm like, we're winning today. It's over. Don't even play the game. Like, this thing's happened, right? Like, we got this. It was wild. Had to have certain beverages and certain innings. I know the game that we won against Detroit that went all the innings, I've sat in 3 different places. And finally, when I got to the couch, that's when we won the game. So I should have got there a few innings early. I apologize. But it was fun, man. That superstitions, whatever they were or not. And it was fun to have it with the family doing it. What about you guys? What did you guys have to do through this whole thing?
I don't really have anything. I don't know. Like you said, it was riding hot hand as far as jersey or outfit or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you get to the standpoint of, is my T-shirt gonna really pay a difference in who wins this ball game today?
Not one damn bit.
Because win or lose, you put poking blame on yourself or celebrating because of what you did, and
Right.
you're thinking there. But going back to what Jason's saying, and with some of the managerial stuff, and you're always trying to think ahead, right? And you kind of saw it early, especially in the Tiger series, when they leave Kirby in there to give up the home run to who was the right fielder for them. It was a long time ago.
Barger?
No,
No,
Tigers.
That guy. Yeah.
The lefty, yeah. When
Hold
they
on, I'll pull it up for you.
Nah, you're good. So night 1 they don't, and then night 2 they go to the Spire, and he gives up 1-2. Kerry Carpenter is the name, by the way.
Kerry Carpenter, yeah.
So as much as you can plan and script things, like, you never know what's going to happen in the moment, right? And it's probably equal enough a pitch call and a pitch conviction as much as it is who's throwing that pitch, right? So whoever's the most convicted in the moment is the guy you want to go with. But I think the Kirby part was the hardest because he was rolling and going well. To see him leave the game with what he was doing because of that analytic stuff of third time through and numbers and those type of things, where the great equalizer is pressure and momentum within a game. And if you have the lead, you have momentum, and why there's an inherent momentum gain value when you get to a bullpen. I mean, you guys have probably felt this before, like at all levels of baseball, there is a drop off in the bullpen, right? Unless you can go 8 with a closer, right? But generally you're going to have a couple innings of reliever in there before you get to the nasty at the back end. And the fact that you go after 4 innings with still 5 innings left is a huge momentum boost for another team that had it shoved up wherever before that by the guy throwing. So that's the toughest part of making some of those switches. Is it is a momentum swing when you get the starter out of the game, and I think I'm sure you guys are when you're coaching your teams. Like, pitch counts up, like we might be a little more selective. We're not going to allow a guy to get back in a groove if he's struggling, right? And eliminating certain pitches or eliminating, maybe a pitch or two or till a strike or whatever, however you guys do that. But that's the tough end of it. Was you starter pitchers are the ones that got us there. Have been our rock throughout the entire year, and we kind of went against that a little bit. And every team does that too. That's not just us, and that's kind of today's baseball. And how much involvement the upper management has compared to the manager, you never really know because you're not in the gutter there. So the only person you can poke fingers at is the manager because they're the one pushing that final button. But at the end of the day, the scripts are written by a collective now and not an old school one person type thing. So that's where I'm at.
You almost would have wished he would have Max Scherzer'd him when he went to take him out of the game. No, I'm not doing it.
That guys, that's kind of an interesting point. You don't see that as often like we used to. That was pretty common for most guys. They knew their bodies well enough to where, and maybe too, it's more maybe in the line of respect, which it's cool. I get that. I applaud that too. I mean, I think that's huge, but I just, you saw it throughout the series. A lot of guys that maybe were either pulled too soon moments, not just with the Mariners, but they just kind of hand the ball. You see their frustrations in their face, their body language, but no verbiage is being expressed. And again, I don't know what those conversations like you're saying, Kelly, from the up top and all the way down. I mean, there's so many different metrics to things nowadays, and with the money and all that kind of stuff factors into all of this. But it is devastating, for a team to pull their workhorse off the bump. I think just looking more on the high school side, we have this pitch count rule, and I'm good with it to some degree, but the others, I think, because there's guys out there that really do take good care of their arms, and they can go 130 pitches, no problems, and they really do it right, and their genetics are good. But, I definitely know for us, being those late postseason games, you got a kid coming out to start an inning, and he's at 92 pitches. We're changing our style of how we approach at the plate. We're going to be probably a little bit more selective. We're going to work some deeper counts just because we know, we're going to drive up that pitch count. And then I'm already seeing what's going on in the bullpen. I'm going, okay, we can, completely change this. And so I don't know if other coaches do that same thing, but that, Eric, I don't know if you do this much on the high school level, but, I know it's a big difference, and it's game changers. It definitely is, because then you're going down from being down 3-0 to you're up 5-3,
Yeah. Well, and that's the same as like what we were talking about with facing guys like trying to knock the starter out to get to the bullpen. Granted, it's different. Like, they got back end arms that come in and rip 100 with nasty breaking stuff, but yeah, I do miss the era of that, but I think that totally does change things. I know, but how many times in the playoffs? Well, at least I'm thinking of a couple times in my head of where we had guys that walked first two guys on, and then we swung at the first pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, what the? Come on, man! Like, you're a professional. That's stuff that we. And maybe there's something. I mean, obviously that. We can always criticize guys, but they're also the ones sitting in on 99, 100 miles an hour with movement too. So, and I love to be able to have this conversation and speculate, because if that worked, we're thinking, man, that's such a great idea. In the world that we live in, everybody's got an opinion of it, but I don't know where I'm going to go with that. If we any of our listeners out there, feel free to type in the comments your thoughts, opinions, concerns, questions about any of this, because we all went through it. I mean, the whole world stopped for about 6 weeks or whatever it was, to do all this. When we got done, and if we can touch back in the Mariners if you guys still want more points on that. But when the World Series hit, I was in Hawaii. I took off. We had this family vacation plan for 11 days, right? And I was so fired up that if the Mariners make it, the World Series starts the day after we get there, and if they go to Game 7, it ends the day before we leave, right? And so the Mariners didn't make it, and I went into hiding, but I went to a pretty cool place to hide. It was pretty wonderful. I only got to see one game because Hawaii time, it started at 3 p.m. and we were off doing activities and kid things. And one day Griffin had a good nap, and I volunteered to stay with him so I could watch the game. And I got to watch Game 7 at Maui Brewing Company. No free ads, but watched with a bunch of Dodger fans and a bunch of Toronto Blue Jay fans. And that was pretty awesome, to be honest with you, because they were both screaming. Unfortunately, we sat in the part of the bar that was delayed. Our TVs were on like a 4-second delay from the other half. So like they'd scream and yell and like, what happened? Oh, home run. All right. And being out on the beach in Maui and the Black Rock where they do the guy he lights all the flames and dives in the water. And it was about sunset when the Dodgers won that in Hawaii. And all the different resorts, their TVs were all in different times because it was like down the beach, everybody goes, ah, and then over here, everybody's ah, and then it just kind of pieced itself together. And it was like the beaches of Hawaii at dark, and everybody was just like walking around super jacked, right? The Dodger, and it was all a bunch of Dodger fans, which I would assume it's a pretty easy jump for people from California to head there. But what was your guys' take on the World Series? I am not great to talk about this because I barely saw any of it.
No, I felt it was pretty good. I mean, I honestly kind of had the idea of like, oh man, the Dodgers are going to come in and completely sweep the Blue Jays. But, as that series kind of went along and kind of went back and forth there, I was really started thinking, man, it's like Mariners are way better than I kind of anticipated. I mean, you think about, I felt like how many points we're watching them play the Blue Jays and, they're out playing them, and so I thought, man, the Mariners probably would have had a good shot of winning this World Series for sure, had they advanced. But, I think it was good for baseball. Game 7s are always good. I just love how managers manage those Game 7s, just because, you get all the starters into the bullpens and you're pulling guys, even the, guys who pitched the day before scenarios. And, I just it's just so cool to see guys perform at such a high elite level with so much pressure. You got the bases are juice, you got one out and or is it no out, and basically, you got the Dodgers playing in, right? And you get a ground ball to second, you get the guy out at home, it makes it almost pretty tough to make a call. I mean, it was clear, but it almost goes into a review, which I was very nervous. The fact that you cannot allow the Blue Jays to win on a review, that would
anyone or anyone
or anything. Absolutely. Yeah. So I just felt like could be bad, but fortunately, Will's got his foot down. I mean, he's a phenomenal catcher. He's a professional. He does his job, but it's just good for baseball, and that's what we need. I think, baseball kind of had some Band-Aids along the way. I think, I was just reading about the Balco incident, the guy that came out, he just passed away a couple of days ago, and I just think about, that in a way, baseball was coming back after the strike of 95. And, that was kind of the next big upcoming thing. And then, of course, this takes place, and then we go in this whole, guys are getting banned and we're just kind of outs with the whole steroid era. And, and I think that kind of just ended up hurting us a little bit. But, I think baseball is now getting more prominent, getting more traction. It's getting, the stadiums are filling up, and I think it's just good to see that. And I just, that's the joys of it. I really didn't have a dog in the fight. I'm just kind of looking for good baseball, and just watching those moments and just playing out those big moment games, just kind of like, for myself going through, another state championship and just playing it in that semifinal game. And, just, those are cool moments, win or lose. They're always better to be in the win column. And I'm pretty sure Scotty's still, he's probably piping in tonight. And so, you know, Scotty Parrish, screw you. That's all I have to say. You took away my first, and that's all I'm always going to put that out there on you. But no, much respect for Scotty, love him. But the thing is that you just love those big moments, and you replay them all the time. I mean, you just live for that. It's just kind of like the smell of a good cup of Joe in the morning when you get up after a good night's sleep, you know. But that's just how I look at it. And it was a good game. But overall, I was super proud and of being a baseball fan. There was no shame in what took place. So,
Yeah, I was just looking at numbers, Jason. You'll find this funny. The fact that Yamamoto comes back right after a full start.
Yep.
Throws combined between the two games, he threw exactly 130 pitches, which was your number that you threw out earlier today. Different specimen. I mean, that alone, there's a lot of big moments to go through in the series as a whole, but that alone, I mean, the fact that a guy could go full start and come back and do that at the end, unbelievable. You know, I know Japanese pitching is a little bit different, and I'm not sure if that still exists with the, you know, multiple hundred pitch bullpens and those type of things and working up and doing all that. But yeah, the fact that he still had some giddy up the next day was pretty amazing. I mean, we talked Springer already with being hurt and still being able to carry the load. Anytime that Guerrero was up to bat, like it felt like, you know, it was just a threat was going to happen there. But the fact that the Dodgers offense wasn't what it could be or should be in that series was kind of the equalizer. You know, I don't think Ohtani maybe has a homer or two within the series, but nothing big in that moment. I mean, the guy that hits the homer is the journeyman that I think was DFA'd during the year. Is that right? Picked up. Hits a hanging slider away with one out in the top of the ninth inning to tie the ball game. Like, I don't think he had a home run against a right-handed pitcher the entire year. And you do it on that stage in those moments. You know, the center fielder was it Pajes or whatever that you know, was a Cam Chancellor hit on Kike Hernandez to catch the ball over the top of him, like on what would have been a walk-off.
right.
Hit the full truck stick on that one. Like, just in the moment, like watching things happen. And I think that's the difference in playoffs, right? Like, you're so in the moment when you're watching and when you're fanning it, right? Like, even if stuff could go bad before, there's still like hope of like, okay, pitch by pitch, at bat by at bat, like this is what they needed to do to get back into it. Like, if a guy gets out, like it's thinking about, okay, the next one, okay, this guy can get on now. We've got to get this guy up. We got to get to this spot. We got to get to here. You're not as hyper focused as being upset or down or whatever. Like, you're just kind of scheming your way back into it. Like, I remember even after Springer's home run, like obviously demoralizing, but you know, you had 6 outs to play with and still had an opportunity to come back in it. And same thing with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, right? Like, there was just so many back and forth moments throughout that entire series that kind of, you know, made it pretty wild. I mean, you think about the night before, like I think that's what you forget too. Bases loaded, nobody out, right? Up 1, is that right? And you get infield fly ball, flare to left field that I felt like was hit better off the bat, even with a lefty. Catch double up at second base to take it to game 7. Like, we don't have game 7 without like some big theatrics in that game. So there's just the little things that happen. I don't know how versed are you? I don't know if Country, if you've seen yet the Isaiah kind of Falefa lead at third base.
I haven't yet. Talk us through it.
Well, let's let Jason hit the lead on this run. Go find yourself a video while we're live here. We'll get some live reaction with BC on his thoughts on this. But Jason, what do you got?
On that particular lead, on just my thoughts on it. I didn't actually see it live, So,
Same,
you know,
same. I agree.
saw it on the replay. Man, you know, I mean, it's a
Where was he? Wasn't even the lead,
yeah, yeah, I know, right?
and that was a ground ball to where?
Second base.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, Jason.
He like drop stepped it. Okay, continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, you know, where's the I don't know what that conversation is with the base runner, right? Like, I think as the base coach, you're kind of talking about what you're doing, what's your game plan, right? Where the ball is going to be going, what you're doing. I know that some of those conversations are there. I've seen it, I've heard it. You watch YouTube, you can see the stuff that goes on. But the biggest question I have too is sometimes we see it, and sometimes it's just almost like that mental check, right? Like, where were you at mentally on this? You know, what's your kind of thought process? Where are you at? Yeah, isn't that amazing, Eric?
He was that far from being safe with a lead of that big.
Right, I know. So where are you at mentally? That's where it comes down to. Are you? Is it kind of like, oh, okay, I'm here. I mean, I'm good. I'm not. There's not gonna be a pick. I'm not worried too much on this. You know, I'm good. You know, I don't know. I mean, you could. I don't know. Maybe with the popcorn vendor caught him off guard or something. You know, I don't know. Maybe, you know, I think a lot of it just, I don't know. Part of it is just in the game of baseball, you can't allow yourself to go check out, because I think how many times you see a guy playing the outfield and he takes that one moment to look to his, well, what was it? It was during the playoffs. I think it was the Dodgers right fielder. He took a moment to look at his card right in the midst of a swing, is what it was. And he almost dropped that fly ball. It was a routine, it was a small, it was a soft flare, but I mean, but the thing is that he kind of took himself out for a moment just to kind of check the scouting report on his card. And that's what happens, in the game of baseball, do that. I mean, you lose track of what you're at the plate, and you think you got a 1-1 count and you got a 1-2, and next thing you know, it's a strike three. That's what I'm saying. You always got to keep your head mentally. It's kind of like that whole be a defensive driver. You can't be down the road just zoning out, because what's going to happen? Maybe a car is going to swerve in front of you, or something's going to run out in front of you. You want to be prepared to stop so you don't have, possible throw out, or, that car hitting another car scenario. So I don't know. Kelly, what was your take on it?
Again, I didn't notice it live. Full disclosure, I was in Las Vegas at the Cirque Sportsbook watching on a massive screen, and it was mayhem there. But you just see the play, and then you go back and look at some of the, armchair quarterbacks are always going to win, right? Like that's right. The basis of this conversation. You're not talking about professional athletes and the reasoning behind things, and we might not ever get anyone out to fully say why or what happened there. But the things are in play. You got a left-handed hitter, so you have an open throwing lane for the catchers. The back pick's in play. You got infield drawn in, so line out, doubled off, double play you don't want as well. And then the night before, right, we just talked about that, like the game ending play there, right? But I don't know if you guys saw the tweet with the metrics. I just pulled it back up. I saw it right after. Like his primary lead was ranked 357 out of 381 out of all primary leads in the World Series.
Wow.
His secondary was 366 out of 376 out of all secondary leads in the World Series. So like that's how short it was. And then his sprint speed was ranked 61st out of 689 out of all sprint speeds in the World Series. So speed wasn't a problem, obviously. But I mean, I think at the time of the game, like you got to be aggressive, right? To win championships, you have to be on the gas pedal. You play the defensive, you're going to risk stuff like this happen. I mean, the fact that the one thing I remember in real time, the fact that he had to take a step back, right, and then kind of cross his body throw to the plate, and the fact that when the camera panned back there, that it's such a close play, like kind of blew my mind at that point. Like not even thinking about the runner at third and how fast, but like just took that much time and still had to play at the plate. Was pretty wild from that standpoint. But yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020, and you maybe look to do something in the future. I mean, I think the other thing that debated that I really liked was the people that talked about running straight through home and not sliding in that situation. You know, the big hot button one that you've seen in MLB, you've seen it in college, is guys running through the bag at second on, you know, 1-out double plays. Right. The fact that not only is it faster, you get a safe call. Now you're going to have a backside runner or a runner at second base without getting that out there at levels where there is replay to be able to go back and see that happen. So that's a hot button thing. And then you think about, you know, transitioning that to this game in this instant. You know, the runner has the wherewithal. I mean, as much as his head down and running, like, probably still a little bit of a head check or a little bit of an idea based on where the catcher is at to know that. And again, hindsight's 2020, because we're all trained to slide at the base, like try to disrupt the catcher or, you know, safety and those type of things. So, you know, instinctually, like you're probably more wanting to slide in that situation, right? It's really hard in such a pressure moment to think about something like that. But that's the fun part about the hyper focus of the World Series. Everyone's watching, and it sparks conversation of our game to, you know, to evolve it, to make it different. Because as much as the game has stayed the same, like some of the strategy and stuff around it has definitely evolved over time. I know there's no debate in that. The fact that where we're at with analytics and everything right now, you know, right or wrong, that's where things are. And if you find yourself stuck doing things in the old ways, then you're going to get passed up. So, yeah, just there's so many talking points, which is the coolest thing about the playoffs. And, you know, with our college teams, we'd always converse over things that happened the night before because you knew that a majority of people were watching, right? And regular season, no one's going to be watching the one-off game from some team playing. So, yeah, fun times to go game sevens on both ends of that.
And a little side note, after watching the replay of this and realizing that the AstroTurf there in Toronto is from our new sponsor, AstroTurf. So just saying,
It's good
and
stuff.
quality turf.
Absolutely.
Do we want to dive into our topic of the night, guys? You ready for that?
Sure. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Listeners, everybody that's listening right now, if you pop your name and where you're listening from in the comment section, after we're done tonight, we'll throw all those names in a hat and we will draw a name for a giveaway. Let's give him a sweatshirt and a Fungo banner hat, the one on Jason's head. Not that exact one on his head. We'll have a new one that's clean for you.
And we'll do that live tonight before we get off the show.
Sure, why not? Let's do it. So go ahead and type your name in the comments and where you're from. When we start talking our roundtable a little bit, we'd love to hear from everybody and coaches in the area listening. But you know, we're going to dive in, Beans. We're in the off season, right? We're getting ready for. It's going to be just a time around the corner, but you know, guys getting ready for baseball season for us in the state of Washington. I believe it's March 2nd or something like that. We can go so many different directions with this, guys. Which way do you want to take this?
Well, I think taking it right off the bat with here on the east side of the state of Washington, I know the east side and the west side are a little bit different. We're a little bit more colder here, a little bit more precipitation on the ground that adds up, called snow, white stuff. So hopefully, by the way, I know Kelly, you're on the west side, but Eric and I are hopeful that we get 4 foot of snow, but it needs to be gone by March because we definitely need it for the farming side of things. So,
my livelihood depends on it.
So, you have to be, being as a high school coach, we got to be careful with our WIA rules and, not doing any out of season coaching, that kind of stuff. But you just got to be extremely creative in how you organize. I think there's a lot of good here. You probably have more on your side of on the mountains, Kelly, than we do. But we got a lot of indoor facilities that have artificial mounds that we can get our guys in there to throw and hit. And I think a lot of it stems for us. Our out of season kicks in right before the summer gets over. And I mean by that, we're laying it all out. What we expect of our pitchers, what we want with them. I'm a big kinetics guy, so we do a lot of core velocity training, belt resistant, those kind of things. We do have some weighted ball stuff. We have some of our guys do, but most of it's working the core. We've had a very good kind of strength and conditioning coach who's been able to help work with our specific athletes at prep to kind of just work on those type of areas. So it's things like that with our pitching, and then just getting them on a daily or weekly routine of, by week one, when you're really gentle to bring guys out. I mean, most of our guys are, 80-90% because they've been throwing all season. And when I mean 80-90%, now granted, they've been throwing inside. There's not, this is kind of their first time getting on the mound. So it's a little bit different just because the elements and the colder weather and those kind of things. But, getting guys out there and working on that. And then I think that correlates into our hitters and position players and those kind of things. And, getting them into tee work and, hitting and on a routine and just really working on, we emphasize more hitting with wood in the off season than aluminum, just so that they can, it's a smaller sweet spot so they can get a bigger feel of their swing, either going on machine or pitching to each other. And that correlates into live pitching with our guys, and so they're able to see live throws as well. So as much, as what they can do. And of course, like I'm completely hands off. There's not much Eric and I can, you're kind of the same way too as I am, but there's not much we can do, but to make sure that, our guys are doing their thing. And, you pop in at a game or two and you kind of just talk and shop and seeing how they're doing. And, just making sure guys are showing up and doing their thing. And ultimately you just trust the process. They're doing it. And come March that, the first day on the field, that first week, you can see the guys who've been doing it and the guys who haven't. So, I mean, you're going to have a lot more success, but I really do truly think, guys, your next season starts really, you finish May 31st, or whatever our state tournament last day is, right? I mean, June 1st for us is the off season. That's kind of where we start, and that carries over right in from, for me coaching being done at the end of July, and then them kind of carrying on their own, but at least you've given them the tooling and the guiding and all those things they need to do to be successful. So, and we've been doing that for the last few years, and it seems to be working pretty well for us. How about you, Kel?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of ownership that has to be made for guys right now, and for what you need to do to be successful this spring. In a college standpoint, like there's a little more specific scripting of plans and routines and weight scripts and all those things that it's still up to the athlete to follow it, right? But high school, like you have to seek out a little bit more of, the high school player needs to be looking for information if you don't already have a strength program, to be able to do research, Google search, Twitter, follow the right accounts, get some information about, where you should be lifting right now. Obviously younger guys, like, the freshmen, sophomores are probably working more on form and function and certain things if they have before lifted. And then you start to build from there. I think that the problem that exists, and we all saw it with, within our college programs, the freshman that comes in that's never lifted before, right? I think we all been around those guys, and there's that fear aspect of walking into a weight room and everyone knows what they're doing and you have no clue, no idea, right? So something is always going to be better than nothing. And getting started with some functional lifts, getting used to squats, getting used to deadlifts, getting used to bench press. Some people like clean, some don't. But those are your bread and butter, right? Those are your bread and butter, getting used to those forms of those things, starting light. Plenty of YouTube videos on cues and things to work on for that. But I can't tell you enough, and you guys have probably seen it too, with the guys that dedicate themselves in the weight room, just the changes that they make, in the spring, in year to year, those type of things. It can go good and bad. Some guys are really good early, feel like they got it figured out, take a year off, don't work as hard, and all of a sudden it catches up to them that they aren't getting any better because of that. But I think accountability is a huge piece of it. Holding yourself accountable, finding someone like-minded as you, whether within your team or in your area, summer team, someone that you're boys with, and commit together to, whether it's going to the same gym or the same routine, to making sure that you're getting better from that aspect. And you can take everything too far, right? It's not that you have to do, 2-3 hour lifts every single day while working sprint work. Like a little bit, 4 to 5 days a week is going to be plenty enough for you. And something's always better than nothing, right? The holiday season, it's easy to get caught up in, travel, and you have stuff going on. But do as much as you can when you can. Just know that that's the separator. With the state of college baseball now, with the transfer portal and things are happening, where freshmen are less involved. There's more movement of players from team to team. Most freshmen are not physically ready to compete for a spot with a transfer, right, out of school. So that the freshman player is going to be left behind there if they're not physically ready. And if you're not physically ready, you're probably looking for a small school, a junior college to give yourself some time to get to that standpoint. So before it was, we bring you in as a freshman and develop you and get you ready to go when you're older. Now it's, we're going to try to find the best players we can to make our team good for next year. And we don't have time to wait on someone to be ready to go physically. So you can overcome that by starting now. And even if you don't end up at the 4-year level right out the chutes, like it's still going to put you ahead of things at the junior college level to be a dominant guy in the weight room to make even more gains with what you're doing. So that's where it starts for me. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to have a weights coach necessarily. Obviously that can help some people, and maybe that's your accountability partner, quote unquote, is someone that's working directly with you. So I would never say don't do that. But it shouldn't be a barrier if it's a funds thing. You don't have the money to do it, or find your backyard YMCA or gym and get in there and just do a little bit of something. And watch people. I mean, shoot, there's people in the weight room that've been there a long time. Watch what they're doing. Watch how they perform and judge it off you, even if it's not an athlete, right? Like functional lifts are still gonna, help body types, and that's gonna help you on the field from that. So, I could talk about some other stuff there, but I can't say enough about now being the time of the weight room, because we know when we get into spring ball, when you're practicing or playing a game 6 days a week, it's a lot harder to find that time for weights, and the good guys can do it and get a couple in a week, but there's really no excuses now when, most guys have at most a couple practices a week with their summer teams. There's a lot of time in there for that weight room development.
Agreed. I think the biggest thing talking to guys, and we have the talk during springtime, right? When we lose a game, it's like, man, we didn't really lose this game today. We lost it back when you decided not to go do something in the off season, when you decided to go. And I am a believer in the off season. You got to do fun things. I want my guys to play other sports. I want them to play football. If we had more sports, we had cross country, I'd say, hell yeah, go play cross country. But I think our football coaches watch us, so go play football. And just kidding, Dusty. But play basketball. And in a small school for us, I think that is helpful with our culture building and team building stuff along the way to get to where we are in the spring, and especially in the experienced group. But I think the biggest thing we have to tell our kids is that we aren't going to hold your hand to go lift. We're not going to hold your hand to have the right diet and to train yourself to have the right sleep patterns and get off the screen now. If you want to be really good at what your end goal is, whether it's baseball, basketball, or a football player, you got to be able to have accountability on yourself to do it without someone telling you. Have the right people, like you guys said, you got to have the right people you trust and give you the right information. And if you don't have any information, don't be scared to go ask. Ask the right people. Just like you said, your coach that you trust, he's going to help you out. If he doesn't help you out, sit down and talk to him and tell him this is what I need. But the dedication, how good you want to be, and if you want to take that step after high school, you want to go to college, no one's going to be there to hold your hand along the way. You got to find the dedication on your own to go do it. I was thinking about this conversation too as well. There's always that time that we can go do something else, whether it's playing video games or whatnot. But like I thought back to last season where we ended with JC Biaggi talking about the tarp that he had in the carport in the middle of winter in Walla Walla.
Mm-hmm.
I had a net in my dad's shop with a tee. I think I even wore those rubber winter gloves, the work gloves, that you can get just to keep my hands warm out there to hit. But there's always a way that you can improve yourself. You don't have to have the great facility, which those things are awesome. And I wish we had that here. I wish we had that growing up, right? Like that'd be so fun to go to a heated turfed facility to take some ground balls in January and February or December. But if you want it bad enough, there's a way to do it. Whether you're in a garage, throwing a tennis ball off a wall, fielding ground balls to yourself, whether you're playing catch with yourself. I lost. This is going to sound super honky, right? Like I lost so many baseballs in the haystack. And if you're not aware of it, like here at the barns in Kittitas and Ellensburg, right? We have these big barns and they're big 3-tie hay bales. And it was actually worked on my coordination because I was tired of losing baseballs. And I would just throw it into the haystack. And if I hit the crack between bales, I wouldn't get it out till the hay company came and moved the hay for dad. And hopefully they made a pile for me, right? And there's no excuses. I mean, go look at people in different countries and what they're doing with nothing. So there's never an excuse. There's a way to be creative with everything we do and just make sure you're getting fed the right information physically to make sure you're preparing yourself for the spring because, like we've talked many times, man, when the high school season hits and the lack of preparation that we're given to get our teams ready, it's a sprint. And we tell everybody every year, the first week, guys, we're going to have this conversation. It's going to be like, where did the season go? And then next thing you know, your season's over and everybody goes, well, coach, you were right. That went really fast. We had about 2 months, hopefully 3 months, hopefully, to get this thing done. And next thing you know, it's over with. And did you fill out did your bingo card get filled out in November, December, January, so that you can have a blackout come March, April, May? Did you do everything that was taken? And you're going to have to do a little bit on your own.
Yeah, dude. No, that's so true. I think that we wager so much on we have to have this or that in order for, performance of excellence, right? We got to have the nice indoor facility that's all turf with heated flooring and the tunnels that are 70 feet in length so that we can hit off the tee or whatever, the machine or the hit tracks and all that kind of stuff. But I think, as a kid growing up in the Tri-City area, there wasn't a lot of options for indoor facilities, not what it is today. And, there wasn't a lot of money that was available for people and willing to want to do that kind of stuff. You had, maybe Kelly, you would know, being familiar with the Tri-Cities, but we had the Oasis water parks, the big water slides, you slide down the hill, and then they had a kind of a outdoor batting cage. But it was pretty common that you had those kind of, maybe at the amusement parks or something, you have an outdoor batting cage. I think of was it Happy Gilmore wasn't it? Where he's taking balls off the chest, right? And it's just in preparation for the hockey season. I mean, that's just we had a hit in the elements. I mean, and the cages were only open when it was nice out. But that's the thing is, growing up, I mean, we didn't have a lot of money, and it just took where literally my dad took a tarp and hung it up between two trees, and that was our net. We hit off a tee into the tarp and then collect them and do it again. And then I think some of the best reps we got was playing wiffle ball in the backyard with the neighborhood buddies. And, you get a 10 of you or something, a 5-on-5 scenario, or, 4-on-4 and just swinging the stick and throwing the ball. And I think there was a lot more of that. We used to play, pickle on the side of the yard, and that was kind of what we would go and go and go. I mean, we'd play 2 or 3 or 4 hours to the point where our arms were tired because we threw so much, and that, I think that helped build a lot of that muscle strength, those kind of things that, a lot of kids, they think they got to be in the right element and the right setup or whatever it is, instead of just going out and doing it and just getting the reps in. I mean, I put a smile on my face when I can drive by a park and I see a kid out there with his dad just, getting some cuts or out playing catch. And I think that's what it was. I mean, a lot of the greats that played had played this game didn't have a lot of money growing up. Like you're saying, Eric, you go overseas. I had the opportunity to play short stint of baseball down in South America, in Venezuela, Nicaragua, those countries. Venezuela is a little bit better than Nicaragua. Nicaragua is the second poorest country in Central America. You got boys who are playing, having milk cartons or cardboard boxes that they're taping up for gloves, and and they're playing with hard baseballs, and and then they're swinging with sticks. I mean, this is what they do, and their dream is to become professional ball players, and they're out in the streets, literally in the streets, playing ball, and because they don't have a lot of fields, and maybe some of the park areas that they do have aren't clean enough for, when I mean clean enough, don't have trash sitting all over for them to get on, an area that they can play. So the streets are actually almost cleaner than the park. So, the thing is that if they can do it and become successful, I think in a lot of ways we here in the States can do the same.
Going back to some of that stuff, man, we had a batting cage that we would hang in the same barn, right? And it'd be snowing outside, and it was so cold. And I just remember, I thought it made us tougher for it. I think, and I told somebody sometime, I can't remember, the biggest thing I kind of, when they said they weren't going to play a certain sport, I said, the biggest thing this winter is I don't want you to lose that competition aspect of competing in general, and trying to figure out how to be a problem solver and how to win games, not just baseball games, but we got to be able to win at everything. And I said, so, and when we would have those winter hitting sessions, we competed, right? Like, we made competitions out of it, whether it was just our buddies and trying to do better than them and getting the most barrels on things. I think that's huge. I think there's a time to get your work in, but I think there's a time. Who was it talking to? Oh gosh, was it David Olson that talked about the jungle versus the zoo? Weldon talked about that, right? And make sure that we have some jungle times while we're competing in our off-season training. I think that's a big one, because
absolutely,
you can be hitting in the cage all you want, but unless you're doing something with it and having that impact of I'm going to compete and how I do this, are you really going to be getting better? Yeah, you can always work on your swing and everything, but I think it's important and that's why I loved our kids playing multiple sports, and most of them do here. They have to at our school, because if they don't, we aren't going to have a team. So I think we're better off than some small schools, but that was just where we were. We all played football, we all played basketball, and then we broke off to track and baseball in the spring. And but just find your jungle through that off-season training as well. Don't just go through the reps just thinking how good I am. You got to challenge yourself, because when day one's coming and pitching machines coming at you, or you're in a scrimmage in that first week or two with someone throwing live at you, you got to be ready to do it, because we just can't be taking swings trying to hit cage bombs, popping up to the very top of the net all winter long.
Yeah, I think the time is now for the challenge, right? And I think that the teach with the player right now is that if it's hard right now and you're failing, nothing is showing up in a stat sheet, right? You're in a cage, it's a machine or whatever. Like, now is the time to push yourself to do things differently, to try different ways to accomplish things. I think hitters in general, youth players, even college players in general, want the feel good, right? They want to go in the cage. It's the tee, it's the front toss, it's the fastball only, this, overhand. And there's time and place for that. Don't get me wrong. It's warm up. It's maybe there is a feel good day. Like, that's fine, right? But you're going to need to use that feel good to make your changes, whether it's mechanical, mental, using your body now that if you are lifting and getting more, physical, how your body is performing differently now, to see where you're at, right? Because if you're challenging yourself, you start to have self-awareness of your flaws and your strengths, right? What pitches I can handle, right? What pitches that I struggle with, right? Having awareness as a hitter rather than just swinging at everything, hitting pull side ground balls to the pull side, obviously, the whole time within your round, right? Or the top of the net or whatever. But really push yourself to figure out what your strengths are, where you hit the ball hardest, what parts of the field, at what trajectory, to really learn yourself as a hitter. Like, that's what it's about, right? So you go with some knowledge base within the spring. But at the same time, like, it's not being overly mechanical. It's looking at certain changes, being open to change, right? Being a good student of the game. I think as a hitter, you're going to get, you don't hit at birth. I mean, maybe some people do, but you're going to get 18 years of hitting, right? Before you potentially step on a college field, right? We can call it, I don't know, 14 if you start hitting at 4. I don't know how young that happens.
Oh yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to be your own best hitting coach. Like, I can't say that enough with guys. Like, yourself more than anyone else. Maybe your dad, right? But he's as full of it as everyone else, right? So knowing what you are as a hitter, taking bits and pieces from anyone that you have a chance to come across, whether that's another player, whether that's a hitting coach, whether that's a summer coach, a high school coach. There's going to be multiple people that are in your life giving you information about you as a hitter, right? So learning what your strengths are, always being open to adjustments and feel and certain things, because, the best and the worst coaches in the world, you can always take something from them, right? And by best and worst, that's your perception, and anyone else's doesn't matter, right? But there's always something you can take away from the people that you're around, peers too, right? So really learning things, being a student of the game, being different, right? Being uncomfortable in this off season is huge. I talk on the hitting side a lot. That's kind of my default pitchers, right? If you haven't been throwing in fall, like, it's okay to ramp up and get some bullpens in and start to work now, right? Like, that's okay. Like, you think about your inning total as a whole, like, and that can be disrupted by whether you play fall ball, whether you had an injury last year. It all depends on your innings count within the year. But if I'm a pitcher and I just threw a bunch in the spring, summer, fall, like, dominate the weight room, take a little bit of a break. There's plenty of time before spring. You don't need to be downhill right now. Take your break and work on your body. And there's still med ball. There's still other movement pattern stuff you can do to work your mechanics, right? If you're a guy that hasn't, there's some velo training if you're of age and want to go through some of that stuff, like, that all exists. And I think that there's value in anything. Like, there's no end all be all quick fix for anything, apart from the weight room maybe. But you start to think about your innings count, take your break if you need, start things back up based on what your high school coach or your pitching coach thinks you should be doing. But we don't need to be throwing downhill the entire year, right? It just depends on who you are as a pitcher and where you're at. But we get into that January period, right? Now is the time. Now is the time to on-ramp yourself to, being more aggressive in your long toss, to being downhill a couple times a week with a flat ground probably mixed into there, having high intensity days, having low intensity days, and trying to move your arm, at least 5 or 6 times a week should be the goal once we get into the January period. So, everyone's a little bit different. I would say set goals for yourself as an individual, hold yourself accountable, have someone else to hold you accountable, and try to make yourself the best player as you possibly can, right? And that depends on what that goal might be, right? Not every one of the players within your guys' roster wants to be a college baseball player, right? They want to enjoy their experience. They want to be a part of the team. They still want to play for a championship. That might be the end goal for them, right? So they just want to be the best player they could possibly be. So maybe they're not gung-ho as much. They're going to have some more friend time. They're going to play, the multiple sports and not be so hyper-focused on the baseball end of things. And that's fine, right? Have your social, do what you want. I mean, you're a fringe adult now. You're making decisions that are going to be for your future. But if you want to dedicate for yourself for the future in baseball and elevate to the highest level possible, you have to think, you have to live, you have to, work out a little bit differently than everyone else around you.
Yeah, I think the key is just the discipline, right? I mean, that's where each young man or young gal's got to, it not just in baseball, just across the board. I mean, I think the biggest thing what parents can do, because I think this is a hard, point of their child's, they're watching their friends and they're seeing the things that they're involved with or the programs they're part of, and I think what I see a lot of young men, they're coming in. I mean, they're getting the training, but it's the inconsistency. It's not the writing out the game plan, the goals. And I think as if we have any parents who are listening tonight, I think that's the biggest thing you can talk to your kid about is developing good discipline, have good habits, and right now they're short-term and long-term goals. I think that we think that's just a matured adult, or you got to wait until you got a family kind of thing, or when you start a career. I don't think that. My first time of understanding that, I was 16 years old. My dad sat me down and says, hey, you're becoming a man now. You're 2 years, you're going to be 18, you're going to be on your own. So, it would be important for you to start kind of laying that out. And so, that helped me a little bit, and then I started getting the understanding of writing those out yearly. And now at the age of 43, almost 44, I mean, I do that yearly, and I write out my personal goals and, my team goals and everything I want to do to accomplish for myself and for my team that I'm involved with, because, that you got to have kind of a guide in a sense. And I think that if you can teach that in young age and just working on that mental part of that, man, it changes the player. It just becomes that young athlete just becomes a total different individual, and the development and the strength and all those things, just doing the mechanics right will pay off, because all those things will all kind of come to fruition at some point of their life. And everything that you've been doing all this along, you're thinking, is this ever going to work? And one morning you just kind of, you see them out on the field and you're like, wow, it's a complete 180. So that's really a good, sense of advice I could give to any parent listening, is just developing good practice of discipline.
I'm going to piggyback off that. And it's something that I tell our guys every spring. And I, for some of them, I'm like, I hope it's not too late for you. And it's not necessarily baseball related, but we have student athletes, and you have to be a student to be able to participate, and you got to be able to pass your classes. And a lot of things we speak in our program is culture of being a good person in the hallways more than anything. Especially for incoming freshmen, it might be fun. You're in high school now, you get to be at the big people in the hallways, right? But make sure that you're taking care of those things in the fall and in the winter, as in how you're treating people, how you're acting in your classroom, how you're doing with we got a funny comment I'll bring up here in a second. But how you're doing in the classroom, how you're doing in the hallways. Are you respecting your teachers? Are you turning in your assignments? Because, you know, if you don't play the other sports and all of a sudden you have springtime hit and you haven't been good in the classroom, you haven't been listening and paying attention to your teachers, and all of a sudden you have had a long week of traveling, especially us over here in Eastern Washington, right? We're 2-3 hour road trips. And you're going to be missing class often. And if you're a screw off and a disruptance in the school, and all of a sudden you need that class to pass come grade check in the spring to be eligible to play, is that teacher going to help you? No, not at all. And I know the coolest thing I have is a softball coach next to me at Kittitas, who was my teacher in high school. And Coach Phillips, if he's listening, man, I was the first kid ever thrown out of his math class and got sent to the hallway. It turns out, don't tell a math teacher, I'm never going to use this in real life. They kick you out pretty quick. But I have that example of like, man, you know, Coach Sorensen wasn't a very good student, and I had to work really hard to get through school. But you know what I did is I put the time in. I would beat teachers to classrooms at times. I need help with this. And when I came to situations where I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get through this class and grade check, the teachers will give you the benefit of the doubt and they will help you. But that starts in the fall. It starts setting that precedent as soon as you first step foot in those hallways and not having that reputation as the kid that's a screw off and doesn't do his homework and doesn't get those things, because, you know, that's just going to be something that'll haunt you for 4 years, unfortunately, if you don't do it right. And you have to pass your classes to play. And so take care of all that stuff so that comes springtime, it's easy rolling to get through that rest of the year.
That's good.
Here's our fan comment of the night. So glad you guys are back for another season. I do wonder, though, can Asotin and TCP ever be on opposite sides of the state bracket, Jason? Coach
Well,
Perry Black at Asotin.
I think you know as well as I do the right representatives for this. So maybe hopefully when we get to that point of the season,
those damn committee members, I'll tell you
we
what.
can both advocate. I'll tell you what, though, that game, honestly, I have huge respect for those guys over on the other side of the diamond. I mean, that was phenomenal. I know Perry probably doesn't want to hear about it, but it was an unbelievable game on both sides, and you couldn't ask for a better semifinal state game. You know, I honestly wish it was the final game, because I know the night before, I mean, it wasn't much to really brag about, but it was a fun game. It really was. And you talk about keeping your cool and trying not to be so much in the moment, and trying to think too far ahead of yourself, and, you know, who you're going to go with next, you know, I think for more of the fans watching that game was probably more stressful than anything as a coach, because I wasn't stressed, and I was more ticked, because when you go out and you do your job and you do it right. You know, you don't mess around. You don't give your opportunity for your opponent to strike you. And when you do, it's kind of like playing with a poisonous snake. Eventually the thing's going to bite and it's going to hurt bad. And so, but no, much respect for Perry and Jim and what they do and what they continue to do. And they have a great program. And in my book, they're one of the top teams in the state for sure. So, but no, Perry, I agree with you on that, man. Let's just make sure we're advocating for the right people and getting those things taken care of. But that would be pretty cool. So anyways, but yeah. So.
Well, guys, we actually went an hour and a half on this thing. We've got some exciting things happening this fall. We'll be back next week with our first guest do we want to tell it now, Kelly? Do we want to wait?
Sure.
Locked in, right?
Throw it out there. Let's go.
Who we got?
Come on, Cal. What do you got?
Episode, not to mention, he's episode 99 that will be followed. He'll be the full episode. We won't break that one up, and then we'll have our 100th episode ever following. Coach?
We'll have Coach Ian Sanderson from Tacoma Community College,
Nice.
which was a secured commitment earlier this fall. I think I was on the phone with you heading to a fall ball scout team game versus Ian, and I said, roll down the window, where he was walking in, I was driving in, and rolled down the window and said, "Hey, you coming on the podcast this spring? I got Eric,
Hey, yeah,
Central
say
Wa-
yes.
Central Washington alum." There we
That's
go.
right. Go Wildcats.
Yeah, here we go.
I'm excited.
It'll be a good one. Had a great year last year, just short of it. Back-to-back years, just short of the Champo. Doing great things there, and in his now third year. So be exciting to have him on.
That's right. Speaking of Wildcats, all I'm saying, Central football, number 7th in the country right now.
Wrong podcast, Eric.
Oh, sorry. I was excited about that one. And while we have everybody watching live, we posted an email got sent out to the association this week, but the clinic is going to be in Ellensburg again for the coaches, Washington State Coaches Association. It'll be February, 6th and 7th, Super Bowl weekend, Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
Same setup. The hotel link will be coming out soon at Hotel Winrow. And then we'll be there at Ballroom Friday night. There's a rumor.
You get stuck in Ellensburg, you can watch Super Bowl party at Eric's place, right?
That's right. We'll get the projector out. It'll be a good time.
Hit some baseballs into the hay bales and call
That's
it a
right,
day.
baby.
I'll
Show
tell
what
you
it's like
what,
to be-
Eric, I'm just glad. I'm hopeful. And I say hopeful. I've got rumor there that Mr. Kelly Gow is going to possibly be there.
Easy.
He's gonna be there. Yeah.
Wife,
So
wife's
are we
birthday on
gonna?
Saturday,
Is it
so we gotta
the
yeah.
50? What is it? 306, 310.
Oh, 301. Yeah, we'll be taking Kelly to 301 for some chicken
Kelly's
fingers.
going to 301. Yeah. And Scotty Parrish, if you're listening, remember
The fact that place has survived
Going to
since I went to college there is
Well, just think of
Not
this.
bad.
We ate our dinner there because everything else was closed down that night.
nothing
I
better.
survived. I
I'll
didn't
tell
get
you what.
sick.
Nothing better when walking into a bar and a stray dog walks in with you.
It was pretty flustered. Jason didn't know what hit him. So that's half the fun of the clinic, right? We had the clinic, we had the social hour, and then we had the after social hour downtown. There was so much fun baseball conversation having it. And if you're a baseball coach listening, man, that was half the fun of it.
It was even better when my assistant, Mark Nelson, was the coat guy.
That's
Remember?
right. He was checking people's coats. That's
Well,
right.
the gal came in and said, "Are you the coat guy?" And he said, "Sure."
Yeah, why not? Absolutely.
Chucks him right into that corner.
That-
was
he
this
was a-
1950. Like
It was
Yeah,
this
Find
gal
it
was
just
wild.
said,
It
"Are
was
you the
wild.
coat guy?" He goes, "Sure."
why not? Yeah,
great
that
night.
was
It was-
that was a fun weekend and I feel
Oh,
the young guys went to bed early. It was all the old guys from the association and the
Dude,
old Hall of Famers that closed down.
Yeah, I think
Some of the-
Scotty.
and they-
good once as we ever were.
Well,
So,
I don't know how much of they were drinking, but man, they were just sitting there talking baseball. And I finally was like, I want to listen to this.
it
I
was
got to
good.
be up at 5.
We had some
I
good
can't.
stories, right?
It was awesome.
Those
So
Packers
get
had
there for the
stories.
camaraderie, if anything. And it's not just high school baseball coaches from Washington State. We'll take them from all over. Youth coaches, anybody from top tier listening. We had travel ball associations there last year. We are here to grow the game of baseball. There's credits for high school coaches, and that's who's putting it on and who's going to be speaking at it. But it's always good for the youth to hear what the high school guys are talking about, because that's where the end goal of getting guys to, right? That's not the end goal, but it's one of the goals in the process along the way to get guys to the high school so they can be successful in every scenario they're going to be in, and then move them on to the next level if they're able to. But so, yeah, that'll be up here soon. More information sent out. We've been working hard on that, and I don't know if I have anything else, guys. I'm excited to be back for the season 6. It's kind of wild that we're here at season 6, and it's going to be a fun one. We'll probably do a live episode once a month, we figure.
Yeah.
Get some roundtables about that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yep.
some random ones pop in. Lots of guests. We have a fun little thing happening that Jason can talk about when it's officially done and we get bottle in hand. And
We're close.
We're close.
Very, very close, guys. And we should, yes, we'll have probably some more information on that in the coming weeks, which is
Mhm.
pretty exciting for our podcast.
Yeah.
So we got we're going to kind of have some spin-offs, maybe a guest or two that aren't baseball coaches, which
Yeah.
will be a little different, but it's due to some sponsorships and some partnerships that we've taken on, which is pretty cool. And I just do have to say, and I know you both agree, but this is not possible without our listeners and
Yeah.
the sponsors and the guys that are coming in. I mean, we love the feedback from all you guys. And if there's anything in particular on topics or discussions or anything you guys want, don't be shy. Shoot us a
Mhm.
text, shoot us a message on X or Instagram or whatever you
Facebook,
can.
whatever we got.
Yeah, Facebook, all of it, to get a hold of us. And so that, we can, it's just a COVID thing that we were bored and it's gone so well. And you guys continue to love the show. So why quit? We're going to keep doing this till probably the day we die. And so thanks
That's a big
Eric.
commitment.
It is, but thank you, Eric, for your ability to be able to mess with the technology, because I would be like your daughter, hitting the colors as we go along the show. So
Yeah.
I know that you are the right guy to run that board. And so, anyways, but
Well,
yeah.
and to piggyback on that again, listeners out there, if there's somebody you'd like for us to interview and have on, message us.
Absolutely.
Let us know. We want to, our circle's fairly big, but we want to get that circle bigger in other states and everybody out there. And just we haven't had everybody on. We've had some amazing guests, but if there's any topics or people you want to hear, let us know, and we are more than happy to reach out and have broaden our horizons, man.
Yep.
That's what we're all about. We're about trying to make everybody better at baseball. So,
Well,
thank you. Yeah.
with
Yep.
that being said, right before you close out to our sponsors, we do
Mhm.
want to say, I guess, for the drawing tonight, being that we only had
Oh.
one
Comment. Perry Black
Comment.
gets yourself
Perry
a
Black.
hat and a sweatshirt.
There you go. So Eric Sorens will be getting that to you, Perry. So
How about in February when you come to the clinic, save me some mailing money, Kelly or Perry?
Babe.
maybe you guys will be playing up here sometime soon. So, yeah, let's do it. Perry Black, got yourself a hat and a sweatshirt. Good job. Congratulations.
all right.
Anyways,
Go ahead,
all right.
close it out.
Thank you, fans. Thank you, everybody. We will be back next week with Coach Ian, and we're excited to get this winter kicked off. So we will be back soon. I don't know how to end this anymore. What do we do?
Bye.
See ya.